Robbie Williams was a member of Take That who made it out and had a solo career. He is an English singer and songwriter. He joined Take That in 1990 at the age of 16 and became a heartthrob. He left in 1995 to launch a solo career, following in George Michael's footsteps. And in fact, his first single was a cover of George Michael's Freedom, which is a song that basically says, "Don't judge me by my boy band days." Robbie has had huge success. He sold more albums in the UK than any other UK solo act. And as I record this, he's just released his 13th studio album. He's had his share of controversy, but he's known for being public about his mental health issues. Hi, my name's Dan, and this is a review of the album Britpop by Robbie Williams, which was released yesterday. I'm recording this in 2026, so that's when it was released. So this is his 13th album. As I say, it's just out. It's a new release review that I'm doing. It's his first album for 7 years, and it dropped early as a surprise yesterday. It wasn't expected for a couple of weeks. So I do occasionally do these. I do new release reviews, mostly though on my channel. I do, I'm working through a list, which is the list, according to Acclaim Music, of the 3,000 greatest albums of all time. I'm just over 40% of the way through. But as I say, sometimes I do some other things. I do requests, I do new releases, and I do some that I just want to do myself, and why not? So let's talk about this album. What's it like? And maybe why is it called Britpop? Well, called Britpop because it's harking back to the Britpop era quite deliberately. He said that this was the album that he wanted to make when he left Take That, presumably the first time, which was 95. And it sounds like almost, mostly an album that would live in 95 quite well. It's got a pop rock feel that would be very much home on the shelf alongside other Britpop. And with other 90s pop rock likes. I'm going to particularly draw out Garbage, the band here, partly because it's got that rockier edge to it, which has got heavy guitar, but that's done in a fairly compressed way. It's the way it makes it sit. It does have some slower and gentler songs in the mix too. The focus here, though, is on bangers, chartable, fairly immediate songs. Some of them felt to me a bit like Oasis, but his singing isn't quite the same as Oasis singing, fairly obviously. The music, I would say, I liked it. It's pretty well done. There are touches of more modern production on there, but mostly it really could be an album from the 90s. And that potentially gives it a fairly timeless quality to it. It doesn't feel dated, but it feels like it's going back to that ethos of music. So it's songs, obviously, and he can sing. He always could sing. He's quite reticent at times to accept that he's actually a really good singer, but he's got a strong delivery and he belts it out where it's appropriate. Generally, and this is Robbie. If you know Robbie, you'll know it's quite a ballsy delivery. He's got he's got this interesting persona, which I think is pretty much actually what he's like himself, from what I know, which is a mixture of this kind of huge overconfidence coupled somehow with this kind of vulnerability and lack of confidence. That somehow they go together, two sides of the same coin, and that comes through in his performances here, at least somewhat. There's a couple of guests on here. There's Tommy Iommi from Black Sabbath and Jesse and Joy, who are a pop duo from Mexico. Nice track they're on. Songs. So this, I think, is where it starts to get a bit more interesting. I mean, so far it's going, yeah, it's fine, whatever. But the songs are not vacuous. They could have been, but they're not. It's not deep. But there is some stuff here to dig into. And the more you listen and the more you kind of absorb what he's actually singing about, the more you get that there is some interesting stuff going on here in the songs. And it's got some nuance. So I think in that sense, and maybe musically as well, I think it's a grower. So if you like it immediately, that's fine. You're kind of not sure first listen, I definitely found second listen, and then bits of third listen as I was writing notes, digging in, starting to get stuff out of it. There's a couple of love songs, but not many. There's some self-critical stuff, which is uh, one of his trademarks. Again, would I say many? I don't know. Human's interesting. I don't want to kind of. Some of it is difficult to say exactly what it's about because it's kind of stream of consciousness stuff, but it's still quite interesting. So, Human, as I said, is interesting. It's about a possible future. I think that's the one with these Mexican guys on it. So it's nicely done, actually. In the sense of the song content, I'd say it's more Blur than Oasis, to my mind. If we're harking back to the heady days of Britpop. So it's interesting. Another thing I wanted to mention. So Rocket is the banging opener. Also is reprised as another version of the same song called Pocket Rocket as the last track. Minor word changes and completely different instrumentation and production. It's done as a ballad, and I like that. It's a nice thing to do, kind of going saying, look, we've got this song, we can do it in two different ways, but also it bookends the album nicely. So overall, I was quite taken with it. I know there are some people who have been cynical about Robbie because he's been very popular. I've always been I've not necessarily liked him as a person, but I've liked quite a bit of what he's done musically. And I don't have a lot of his albums. I think it's just a couple of them that I've got. I do want a copy of this one because I enjoyed it quite a lot, actually. So it did start by thinking, what do you do for your 13th album? And is it possible to make your 13th album a classic that lasts for all time, where people will go, oh, that Robbie Williams, he made some good albums, but that Britpop one, that's the really good one. And that, they'll be talking about it in 20, 30, 40 years' time. Don't know. That sort of album is usually earlier in somebody's career, and I don't know why that's the case. Maybe it's to do with public acceptance or reception. I think that this album has the chops behind it to be really successful, but I think it's harder to do that these days than it was back in the day. And I think it will very much depend on the exposure that it gets. So, but I like it. As I said, I would encourage you to give it a go if you like pop rock at all. It's got some grunt to it, and it's got some interesting stuff in the lyrics. So yeah, decent. Maybe even more than decent, actually. So that's what I think. It's just out. So you might have heard it already. And if you have, I'd love for you to tell me what you think of the album. And if you haven't, then, but I've attracted you into this, then have a listen and let me know by leaving me a comment. But that's it from me for now.
Sticks and stones may break my bones, but your words could make me kill myself. This is a letter from the future, you can write the tune.